That being said, happy Festivus, and thank you for joining Beardy and the Beast Media Club for a very special time of year for a full spoiler podcast. We will not give up on those spoilers, just like a devoted and loving family member. If you're feeling giving at this time of year, please consider gifting us a subscribe or a like, or check out beardyandthebeast.com for a full list of services that we can be found on. My name is Drew, and... where is he? Devil! Devil! Devil!
Trooper?
Today we'll be discussing the 1986 Bluth animated film, An American Tale. So Dev, should this film have remained lost, or is it good that it was found?
I think it's good that it was found. It's not Fieval Goes West, but it's pretty good. I watch Fieval Goes West a lot more.
After watching this, I can understand why people only think of Fieval Goes West. To be honest, I think this movie should have been lost. As a movie itself, structurally, character-wise, it is nothing more than a 20-minute Saturday morning cartoon to me. Honestly, though, I think they missed a lot of opportunity here when it came to like the whole Jewish people being chased out of their homeland, like northern Ukraine, southern Russia, by Cossacks in religious-based persecution, and then coming to America for the sense of freedom, and then, of course, encountering struggles.
Yeah.
But that was like the first 15 minutes of the movie, first 20 minutes of the movie, and then it was just kind of a trash storyline.
I don't know if I'd go far as say a trash storyline, though I can see kind of that a bit of the missed opportunities that you're talking about with it.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a Don Bluth thing. So his I love Don Bluth style. Like Anastasia is by far one of my favorite movies, one of my top 3 animated films. But I mean, Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Nim. But they all kind of have this. I think some of the issues might come from his absolute seething hatred of Disney.
Oh no, for sure. Tinfoil hat here, but I feel like that seething hatred is in fact seething. I don't think that's an over-exaggeration. The thing is, like, when you look at All Dogs and Anastasia, there is, like, sure, the storylines are what they are, right? Like,
Yeah.
All Dogs is a trip and a half. Like, there's character development. Whereas Little Sharon, I mean Fieval, doesn't grow at all and is a poor depiction of a mischievous yet semi-headstrong child. And I think, honestly, this is where a lot of my dislike of the film is coming from. The characterization of Fieval.
We definitely had more of a character Fieval in Fieval Goes West. We have honestly more characterization of them all. Fieval, Tanya. They make a tiger a full character. I like the visions that he has here. Again, there's a lot that was good here. I know, going back to like the other movies, like Land Before Time, for example, I know like they had to cut out like the whole middle of the film because it was just too dark, and
Rip
sometimes you
Ducky.
like, yeah. So I think it's trying to balance that darkness with having an adventure, and unlike Nim, there's not quite that same call to action that there was. I think a good way to look at it is I'll just compare it to Nim because we've discussed that one. In Nim, Brisby is actively working towards solving the problem. Like, she is actively moving the plot forward. In An American Tale, the plot was moving Fieval forward instead of the other way around. He was along for the ride.
Well, exactly, and that's like the event structure exactly shows that. It's like,
Mm.
oh, he's walking down the street, and oh, some other character grabs him and then brings him in a different direction. It almost came off like halfway through the film. The whole like I need to find my family actually didn't seem to be a focus anymore. It was just something he was saying while the plot was sweeping him away.
Yeah, and during the opening bit there, like I saw a lot of Bible that I liked. You had that kind of reckless adventurousness that was there that really does get developed well. When you skip the hour after that and then go into the couple hours that is Fieval Goes West. like I can see where the characters are the same, but yeah, it's just, and I mean, part of it could be is like he's pretty young. Like what? I don't know. I would peg him at like maybe 6 or 7, like between 6 and 8. Like just from how he's shown.
Oh, for sure, for sure. There's
Um,
like no, for sure. He's pretty young. The difference is in like other films, animated films, where the characters are very young. There is at least a pursuit of maturity by the character itself, like the mature beyond their years sort of thing.
Yeah.
In fact, Fieval, as he was portrayed in this film specifically, I think should have been like the side brother character to the actual protagonist of the film. Like, doesn't need to change, just does the thing, gets into troubles, creates havoc, and well, the person with the actual mission is pursuing it. So, like, the sister would have been good, the street kid would have been good. I mean, if Tiger was actually a real character that belonged in the film, Tiger would have been good.
Yeah. So I had that same thought. It's like I would have really liked to be seeing. I think Tonya actually probably would have been like the perfect character that we could have followed for this. Papa Mount Squits as well. I almost wonder if there was like a conscious choice to not do that, because then it would just be Nim again.
Yeah, it couldn't have been Papa Moskowitz.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, Tonya, someone with a mission or something that showed growth. The most growth from a character we had was, what? Was it Tony?
Tony was a street kid, yeah.
Yeah. Was Tony going from like street kid to like love struck guy to like going to bat for, his girl.
Yeah.
Fieval was just the same throughout the entire film.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I would have liked to see a Tony movie. I would have loved to see this have Tonya more, which again, something that is done in Fieval Goes West. We get more Tonya. She's pretty central in that one.
Probably realized their mistakes from the first one.
Very possibly. I think it would have been really interesting to actually follow Bridget, the one that Tony got love struck for, because like some of the best characterization I saw was like with Tony and Bridget, like just the scene of like Fieval on stage and Bridget just trying to like control this little 6-year-old. It was just adorable to me. It's like, I want your story. This is interesting.
Well, she came into that, right? Like, she was headstrong, she had a mission, there was persecution, she was trying to do something about it. So this, and I think one of the reasons why we wanted more of Tonya is partially because of this unfinished analogy to like the strife of the Jewish people at this time. And that kind of follows that storyline, which is honestly the most complex storyline of the entire piece. Yeah. But it's also somehow just swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Which missed opportunities for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was almost like they were I almost wonder if they wanted to do a bit more of the general persecution of a lot of immigrants in New York, because the main characters we were following were the Jewish refugee family, the Irish, and like
Orphan Street Kids.
and the orphan street kids. I'm like, yeah, no, this is just like all of the downtrodden of New York. And I might have gotten lost in that. Or they pivoted for whatever reason partway through when they had with the story. So
Yeah, it
how they
makes
wanted the focus changed a bit.
well, it makes you wonder, like if you put on your tinfoil hat, if you go like were the cats racialized too? Was that a demographic that was of a problem and needed finger quotations to be chased out? Or if you were to take your tinfoil hat off, uh, it's likely that the cats more represented like a force like animosity,
Hmm.
something that was keeping people down.
I like the idea of the cat just being the more general animosity as opposed to being representative of something beyond that.
Mhm.
I think it fits more thematically with the bit that we do get, from the refugee standpoint, where it's like, no, there's no cats here. This is the equivalent of no, this, it is the American dream that they're painting there, right? And
Mhm.
that the repression is represented by the cats. And I think you see that in the musical number, Drew, where we're about no cats in America. It's all right. Don Bluth films can be musical sometimes, just not Disney films.
Okay, I was thinking about this. Okay. In musicals,
Yes.
the musical numbers is a artistic portrayal of an event or conversation.
Yes.
Those are the musical numbers. In Disney films, the songs are actually happening.
So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop you there. I'll let you finish after. Um,
It makes me T Swift. Number one.
the songs aren't necessarily happening any different than they are in like a musical stage play. There's not necessarily anything. Now, Disney films tend to have more diegetic songs. So, for example, Under the Sea, 100% diegetic. We've got Sebastian, is a composer, does have a band going, but that is not necessarily the case. I don't believe I Just Can't Wait to Be King was diegetic. That was a conversation song.
I don't know. I just like the way that I perceive them. The two different things. This is the
Right.
reason why I do not believe that Disney films are musicals.
And I think part of it is so going back to the conversation that we had in a little shop, we're specifically talking about how things can be more believable just in the nature that's animation.
Mhm.
So because it's animation, it is very easy for your mind to just, yep, this is just diegetic. This is just how the world is.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like,
I'm saying that, but I'm saying it actually is. It's
yeah.
not just diegetic. It's like factually. To call this film a musical would be a joke.
Oh God, yeah.
The fact that there was numbers in it, musical numbers in it, is astounding to me.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the things for the songs didn't hit like they should have. So I think
There's 4
uh
songs,
let
and
me is- yes, there wasn't many songs, but I think there's things that it did very badly and some things that it did very well
okay,
from a musical standpoint. Um the songs were, as you said, they were just songs. It didn't with the exception of Somewhere Out There, which most of the songs were just kind of there to be there because Don Bluth hates Disney. Let's make a musical. Screw you guys. Flipping off the bird, flying. Look, this is canon. We know this is what Don Bluth did. And he took half the team with him.
No, flag check. Okay.
So I think that was part of it. This would have been kind of in that dark ages of Disney, where just before we started getting a renaissance with like Little Mermaid.
Yeah. And so, you can definitely feel it.
Yeah. So there wasn't exactly that musical aspect. A lot of the Disney films that Bluth worked on, I believe they wouldn't really have been the general musicals, right? Sword in the Stone wasn't a musical. Robin Hood wasn't a musical. Rescuers, definitely not. So I think there's this shift of starting to go back into the musicals.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was ahead of Disney a little bit, but let's say his take on musical numbers are hit and miss.
Honestly, no, wait, you know what? You've enlightened me to something.
Okay.
So I was tempted to make a play on just like Disney films, this is not a musical. I don't think that's the case. I think this is fully a musical, and the reason why it falls short is because a musical generally ends up being short scenes of not much between songs.
Yeah.
There's only 4 songs in this, and that's why it feels so empty as a story, because instead of those short periods between songs, we just have these long, arduous periods of time between the two.
Yeah.
Because it is a hour-and-a-half movie with 4 30-second songs.
Yeah. And so the next step of the whole musical thing here that I'm looking at is, in musicals, when the emotion is too much to say it, you sing. When the emotion is too much to sing, you dance. That's the general format of when you were writing a musical stage play. So you get those emotional beats. So again, that's why we have I Just Can't Wait to Be King being...
Boopadaka, 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 boopadaka. I'm so angry. Bookadaka, bookadaka, bookadaka. Can't see it. Wiggling my butt. Bookadaka. So angry. Sorry.
No, I mean, not inaccurate. It's why, we get Part of Your World. We get the emotion of I Just Can't Wait to Be King, or it should be on. Now, the only song that really had that emotional feel again was Somewhere Out There,
which could have been such a bop.
And the actual version, I think Linda Ronstadt, I want to say, sings it. It's an actual bop.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Fieval couldn't sing.
Nope.
And I think the Tonya singer was trying to sound younger than she was.
Yeah, but
I think it was affected with her. But Fieval's just like, oh God, stop cracking the voice.
Yeah.
So, because that actually threw me off a lot.
Well, that's why I invoke the Sharon meme like almost immediately.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, the Sharon meme, for the explanation for our listeners, is some deep Bat-Bee lore coming all the way back from episode 1, where we did Silent Hill. And essentially, we had Sharon and what was Dark Sharon again?
Alessa.
Yes, we had Sharon and Alessa, and Alessa was fantastic. Like, great acting choices, perfectly portrayed. But in the case of Sharon, the actress was intentionally trying to act younger than she was.
Yes.
Like clearly so, to the point where you wonder if there's like some type of stunted development. Like it was problematic for the character. We've invoked it many times, and it's simply just like it puts you off the character, and that's what I got from Fieval.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And it's kind of a shame because, like, again, I think we look at that very first scene, and I'm like, my immediate thought in the very first scene was, cool, not a Sharon. Then kind of the rest of the film happened.
Well, you start getting the feeling during the original, like the attack by the Cossack cats, the
Mhm.
Cossacks, um, and then you're like, oh, whatever, and then it does the getting on the boat scene,
Yeah.
which went on for minutes.
Yep. I understand that it's all done for the characterization, but you need to. We talk a lot about effective use of frames, and that may possibly have been lacking a bit here.
well, here's the thing, that the
But
way well, the way that you portray a young child um, character well is by framing the world as the perception from the child.
Mhm.
In this case, it was the world's perception of the child.
And there were a couple things that they did well for framing this. Like, again, that kind of reckless bravery that he had, and then realizing immediately how over his head he was. The the idea of him, oh no, I just gotta go get my hat, Papa, and tossing it up. And it's like, no, this seems like something like a kid would do, so he doesn't get in trouble for doing something that he knows he's not supposed to do. And I liked that. Just, I don't know. Like I said, it's like you need to have that growth around it, and that was lacking. Oh, I completely got derailed from the whole musical thing. Thanks, Drew.
Well, considering that this was in fact a musical, based
Yeah.
on my new perception of this film, well, that's part of it too. Like we've had, like on this channel, we have talked about musicals where the primary actor, the lead actor, Rick Moranis, can't
Yep.
really sing.
Yeah.
And by that I mean he can carry a tune. He's got a range. It's not very wide. He doesn't have much technique, but what he can do, he does all right. But
Yes.
you wouldn't call him a singer.
No.
None of that's present with Fieval.
No. Again, I think it was very much there with Tonya. I'm not sure if she's done more singing. I'll have to actually look her up. She's done she's done some co-posing. Okay. The singer's voice specifically I'm looking at here. Yeah, she was in some Disney episodes, some Disney things here or there. Anyway.
Yeah, Alitza.
Yeah. Again.
Oh, she was on Boy Meets World.
Yeah. So yeah, they definitely failed there, and it's a shame because Somewhere Out There, absolutely amazing song. Not the film version. Which is generally opposite of what I feel with a lot of these animated movies with music in them, with singing and dancing in them.
Well, so somewhere out there is such a good song that instinctively while watching this, because I have seen this film a long time ago. I have heard the non-film version of Somewhere Out There a long time ago. But while you're listening to this, you're like, this is a good song. Just shut up, Fieval.
Yes. But so that's kind of the weakness of the musicals. I think, some songs like the Never Say Never, it's like, it's an all right song. I understand why it's kind of here. Again, this is something that I've seen Don Bluth do in several films. There's a whole trope called a big-lipped alligator moment because of Thumbelina, because there's some very pointless songs in there. And as much as I love Jodie Benson, and she does what she can, she didn't make the best choices for these songs.
Shots fired.
No, not Jodie Benson. Jodie Benson was fine. Don Bluth did not make good choices. Like the music direction, there were issues with these song choices there. But what this did very well, that I'm hoping you'd pick up on, considering the amount of musicals we've recorded and talked about in the general frame that we've done here, how much the themes from the songs were played and twisted throughout the movie. There was always that hint of Somewhere Out There playing through, or the No Cats in America, which is something that, again, even though the pieces themselves weren't necessarily the best, it tied it all in well. You could follow an emotion through the music.
Well, yeah, like a little bit. I definitely caught up on it a little bit, but the main thing, because the non-musical bits were so extended to me, like you lose it.
Yeah.
You lose focus. You're just like, I'm done with this scene.
Yeah.
Like, let's get on to the next thing. And there was a lot of that. So
Yeah.
I found where the music should have been pushing me along and controlling my emotions and nudging me in directions, the story was actively putting roadblocks in front of me in disinterest in the entire story, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I do think it goes back to they might not have known who they actually wanted the main character to be, and they chose the wrong one in the end. Because again, I'm just thinking of the things like the thing that rug on to me too much, which, while not completely get it, was like they really beat home that so close yet so far away thing.
Yeah.
Like almost a little too much.
It's like, oh yeah, he's within 3 feet, like real world feet
Yeah.
of his family on multiple locations, or on multiple occasions.
I would honestly say 80% of the film.
Yeah.
Like the sweatshop that he was dropped off at was literally above them.
Yeah.
If that bag had been facing the other way when he was climbing out the window, he would have been like, "Oh, I recognize that name," assuming he could read. Though likely not, because he couldn't tell time.
No, he could read.
Mm.
Because he has a favorite book, but I guess it could have been read to him.
Yeah. Or again, it could have just been that like Z-spot run.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first one was fine. Even the cat attack one is like, yeah, or not the cat attack at the market, but like when they were just kind of, I think they were like running around, like they ran above them while Tonya and Papa were walking down below. It's like, okay, no, that's understandable. But like at the rally, both times when he's essentially up on the platform and his family's like literally right there, and they didn't notice him. Kind of stretched the believability a little bit. Which again, I think there could have been something really well done there if, say, Tonya kept getting a glimpse of the hat. So she's got a reason to go. It's like, no, Papa, he's fine. I know he's alive. And give a bit of drama and push there.
Yeah. Because of the production, how this is laid out, it's not like you can be like, this should have been, like, it should have been Tanya's story. But what I mean is not the case of, you hear this sometimes where they'll release a show or a cartoon, and they'll be like, oh, like little boys won't follow or identify with a little girl character or whatever, so you need to like swap it. I don't think that's the case in this, just because of how poorly constructed the rest of the movie is outside of that. But I mean, I think you saw that in a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I can't. Few examples are escaping me. I knew that they did that for Card Captor Sakura. They changed it to Card Captors.
Yeah.
Though I've never watched it. I'm not an ultra weeb here. I know that's a fact, and I think it's stupid.
Yep.
As 90% of the weebs I know just lose their crap over anime with um, female protagonists. So,
Well, I mean, some non-anime examples of things where they figured this would be the case and were completely wrong that I can think of that most non-weebs are going to know. Kim Possible is a good example of something that is just that captures both sides, both audiences very well. She-Ra would be a good example of this. Buffy, if we're going into more the live action side of things, like there's
I think Buffy's like 50-50 too.
yeah, but I think yeah, like Kim Possible and heck, and then to go to the weebs, but you know, mainstream weeb stuff, Sailor Moon. There are a lot of guys who got into Sailor Moon as well.
That's
Like,
such a weird thing to say, just like as a tangent, because you're talking from American standpoint.
yeah,
I mean, I know Sailor Moon's like one of the biggest ones that have
yeah,
ever, but it's just a funny term. Like I know that you meant it correctly, like from an American standpoint, but
yeah.
from like a Japanese standpoint, you technically just called Cardcaptor Sakura not mainstream.
Did I say me? Yeah, okay. Yep, no, I see what you're saying there.
No, I know what your intention was, and
Yeah,
it's funny in my head.
yeah, yeah. No, that is pretty funny.
Like if you
I
said
think,
if you said X, I'd be like, okay,
yeah,
but
yeah,
that's not
yeah,
relevant to this conversation.
yeah. I think another show that kind of balanced the, you know, female lead type thing well, but this is kind of more of an edge case one, would be something like Gargoyles with the detective, right?
Well, I mean, Gargoyles. Honestly, Gargoyles was the Ninja Turtles with an actual effective female character who did lots of stuff. And then when Demona came along, you're like, oh, there's multiple female characters that are actually integral to the plot. They do actual things. And
Yeah,
that was a good show. I should watch it again.
yeah, it was a good show. I should watch that again. Yeah, no, I don't think that. So to get back onto our tangent here, I think, yeah, I don't think that would be a reason to not have Tonya be the lead, especially when we look at this as kind of a little bit of ahead of the curve on what Disney ended up doing with the golden era.
Mhm.
And it's like, these films are kind of beloved. These characters are beloved, regardless of being a little boy or a little girl. You know, some Drews couldn't leave the theater.
Some devs cry every time.
Every time.
That was a shot in the dark. I don't actually know a story there. I just threw it out because it was possible.
Not generally the Disney films, but
yeah, there's
definitely something where like, nope, every time, right there, right in the feels.
You know, I'm gonna take us away here. What was really interesting to me, kind of talking about like emotion of it. A lot of emotion was lacking in this film, and I think part of that was because of a lack of music. Because what you said about musicals, like when there's emotion you sing, and when there's excessive emotion you dance. Well, there wasn't emotion in the film, therefore there was no singing. But at the end, and this might be like for some context, people probably understand my character now as a person, not like what I show, but like what I like in films. For instance, Boy and the Beast, etc. So when there was the reunion of Fieval and the Dead, I was like, oh, like almost a tear.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that's like a projected situation from my point of view. That's not frickin', oh, it was built up emotion that makes you want to cry when it's finally released, right?
Yeah, it's almost like as an audience member, you had to work for it, but not in the good way. Is it like you're not working
Not like
working
Rihanna.
it to kind
Work, 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 work.
of, not like in a sense like 'cause there's lots of films where they don't tell you everything. You know, if you're paying attention, you kind of piece it together. It doesn't need to spell it out. Um, type work for it. Like no, you had to work for it because you were kind of filling in things because it wasn't looking at the right emotional beats of the story. Um, I feel like we're kind of talking around these same things. It's definitely the biggest part of the film.
Hmm.
So I want to kind of segue a little bit more. Like
So you're gonna take us away on a magic carpet ride? Tell me, Devon.
yes,
Can you show me the world? Shining, shimmering, splendid. Should have been splendor, but they said splendid, and I still don't get it. Such a weird choice.
and that really is a weird choice. All right. um, kind of want to. Like, we've obviously done this with the Chizu Ghibli films and such. Kind of want to pivot to the art, just the
Okay.
art in general of it. Um, personally, saw a lot of nice things. I think um, one of the big things that I saw was like the difference in how animated the characters were compared to like the humans that were in the world.
Hmm.
Actually really liked those changes.
Well, they
It's
were
kind of like
painted in
the
the same way that they were painting like the structures in the world, right?
yeah, but still having that animation. It was really interesting. It kind of helped. I think it helped fill out the world of the mice, and it's just no, the humans are just background in that
Mm-hmm.
regards. But it's not something you see often. So I actually kind of really appreciated that artistic choice.
Well, and I think it's a good one because I think one of the original things that Bluth was being pushed to do was to make it an all animal world.
mm,
And
yeah.
then there was some convincing, or, Bluth worked his magic, and he's like, no, I actually think it's better if
Mm,
um, they are like this little segmented group of people or group
yeah.
of creatures. And it's a really interesting choice. And I actually did notice that in the first couple scenes.
Mhm.
Like, I know you don't really see people a lot, maybe they're on the horse carriage during the attack at the beginning, but
Though in some ways it makes it really funny when you see the mouse and cats and everything running around with clothes on, knowing that there's just like humans around. They're pretty normal, from what I could tell. Um,
I mean,
no,
if
I've
this.
known enough humans that'll dress up their cats. So,
I mean, when I get a dog, you better believe it's gonna have outfits. The
you're gonna help
ladies
them
are gonna be like,
accessorize and
the ladies are gonna be like, Drew, how do you have no style, but your dog has drip? Like, they won't even know my name. It's like little, you know, Roscoe. I don't know. I can't think of a name right now, but like Roscoe's got drip, but who's the guy that's always with him? Roscoe, you talking about the dog that's, you know, always wearing stylish clothes? Yeah. I don't know who that guy is. There's a homeless
Look,
guy.
look, that guy can't have style. Roscoe beat him up and took his money to go buy clothes.
Anyways, I think it derailed you again. There was like a bit of weird choices that kind of came out there. No, artistically it makes sense. So what I was gonna say is there was very much like this dark, kind of old-fashioned painted style
Yes.
before they left, but given that we're actually moving locations, perceptions, and there's like a dream,
Mhm.
the fact that like a lot of the times when they're showing America or New York, it was definitely, shining in heaven like and had a different art style. So it actually makes sense that way. Um, and I'm glad that they got rid of that kind of like that darker painted art style, which was probably the parts of Nim that really bothered me, like how dark it was.
Mm. Well, I think that's one thing that's so Nim was dark, but I felt it
Like
had
a
better,
process thing.
a bit of a process thing, and it had better definition in its darkness.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you could tell that there were layers there. Yes, everything was black, but there was probably a dozen different blacks to actually give you an idea of what was happening in a scene. Where this didn't quite have that. So it was really nice to see it brighten up, but I still think be similar enough there. It's because it opened up with that bit of darkness. I was almost hoping for starting to see like a Bluth style, in the same way that we have a Ghibli style. Uh, but it almost feels like that didn't happen. I mean, again, I know part of his departure was doing things the old way, and maybe you start realizing that maybe it's not just all the old way.
What's the thing? And I think like when you take a bunch of staff, right?
Hmm.
So it could have been just a production thing where it's like people have different specializations, and they were
Yeah.
given the ability to go with that, and then time crunch kind of happened. All of
Hmm.
a sudden, you have to go away from these hyper realistic, like painted styles, and then move to more of like a cell thing, et cetera, et cetera. So it
Yeah.
it it could have just been a thing of circumstance. But
Hmm.
I definitely agree. Like it's unfortunate that the only style that really comes through is the Bluth tropes,
Yeah.
opposed to uh like if we were to take let's talk about Chizu for a moment here.
Mm.
Like
Sure.
Ghibli has definitely got Ghibli style.
Oh yeah.
Like it's plain to see that they have these hyper detailed painted backgrounds that are magnificent, and everything's moving, and the characters themselves, they may be a bit simpler, but you see a complexity to them, etc. Like
Yeah.
the way that they animate. No. Um like the Chizu stuff here. Give me a sec here. It's so the studio stuff. I had to pull up a list of some of the films here, and I keep being surprised that we've only watched Belle and Boy and the Beast. But one
Wasn't Girl Who Lived Her Time?
oh yes, you're right. So I just had to pull up a list of the Chizu films, and I'm surprised we haven't watched more. I think we've only watched Belle, the Boy and the Beast, and A Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
To
Post
be
rocks.
fair.
uh, but the thing is, these films were animated in very different ways.
Mhm.
You do have a feeling of story and progression that goes between them, being from the
Yeah.
same studio and stuff. But there's something about the movement, the choices, and the arts and the way that they frame it that gives it a signature. And the thing is, like, you could easily say that The Boy and the Beast and A Girl Who Leapt Through Time, on the face of them, came from the same studio.
Yeah.
Or at least the same production house, etc.
Yeah.
Belle is very different, but visually still feels very Chizu.
Yes. Belle is a very from the three that we've watched, Belle is a bit unique and a bit of a standout because they very clearly used two different animation styles in it.
Mm-hmm. But I'm talking about
Um,
like the 3D.
you can look at the main world, like the real world, and you can see that same character and style through um, Girl Who Leapt Through Time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I feel like you were saying something and I completely misread what you were saying for
Uh,
half a second, and I'm
I,
not sure if that's the case.
I think you agreed with me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's something about the design, the way they move, the fluidity.
Mhm.
That even though the 3D aspects of Belle are completely different technique, still feels Chizu.
Yeah.
Like, maybe less from A Girl Who Leapt Through Time to Belle, but you can definitely see it in Boy and the Beast to Belle.
Yeah.
A pop quiz is Belle a musical?
Oh, so that one I'm actually going to say no.
No, it's not a musical.
No, it is not a musical.
It's like
It is
if
all diegetic. It is a character who sings that we
yes.
are following, not a yeah.
All right,
though
we've
it tries to, even though it is not a musical, it at least has its songs. It tries to structure the songs somewhat to be tied to some of those musical tropes,
mhm.
even though it's not. Um,
It's not a
they
musical, but it has a musical structure.
yeah, yeah. It's got its "I Want" song, but it is literally her singing to the world and becoming a mega pop star.
I want to watch Belle again.
Right? It's so good.
It's like I want to watch Kiki's live action, Girl Who
Mm,
Leapt live action, Belle.
yeah. It's getting our list growing bigger and bigger.
We're gonna have to organize a Discord watch party.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
such
and I think so. To continue with the style thing before you seem like you're going to segue us off to something else.
no, I was
Um,
actually just gonna talk glowingly about Belle for like Yammer for a while.
it's so good.
Anyways, go on.
Um, Disney is again another thing where there's very clearly a style, especially after the Renaissance.
Mhm.
You know, using that idea of the computer animated and such, like you can tell that Tangled, Frozen is Disney. There
Mhm.
is no question about it. You wouldn't necessarily be able to say the same thing about Toy Story because it's Pixar,
Mhm.
but you can see that same thing. You can see, you can tell that Toy Story and Up are Pixar films. They've got that identity to it. I feel like, and again, I think a lot of this has to do with Disney. He's he's trying to preserve what Disney was doing, but also be his own thing, and then kind of not quite doing it. So it's like we can't be the rescuers, but it's close to the rescuers. Um, and you kind of see it, especially as you move on in his works later. It's like Anastasia starts to feel that little bit more Disney princessy,
Mhm.
even though it's not. And I think it means that the only thing that really sticks out for the Don Bluth films tropey style is when you get those occasional dark scenes, you will have generally have some sort of magical non sequitur because there should always be magic in in a film, I think is what he was quoted as saying.
Mhm.
um, and you know, some questionable song choices. as as opposed to actually having a full identity. Oh yeah, and you know, making stories way darker than they need to be most of the time.
I mean, we can look at Ghibli and be like, that is such a bright feeling that I get from the story, but the story itself is so very dark.
Yeah.
Um, so, like from a storytelling standpoint, honestly, Blue doesn't come out good. I what I've felt a lot about for Bluth is it really comes off of yeah, I want to make my own studio and we're going to do it better and you don't know what artistic integrity is and like we can make money and maintain our artistic integrity, but the truth is that this was so middle of the line of that it just doesn't hit any of the appropriate beats. So like you maintain the songs and the goofy character like Tiger, and uh, you have these childlike characters and you position it as if it's going to be the next thing like a Disney film. while trying to be, but it's not. It's a Bluth film, and it's actually dark, and it's so much more artistic, and it's a letdown.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of being spoiled by the Disney stuff. It's a case of it doesn't have an identity.
Yeah.
And I mean, the truth be told, like if Bluth were to come out and were like, we wanted to make sure the film didn't have an identity because it was really portraying the dispossession of the Jewish people in the late 1880s, I'd be like, that's a cover story, but it's at least better than what I watched.
Yeah. So I'll say this: there's a soft spot in my heart for the Bluth films.
Mm-hmm.
I think the pieces that he's done, like he's definitely got a lot of pieces that resonate
Yeah.
very well. Like as I said, Anastasia is my top three um, Western animated films. Yes, I do have to clarify that because I'm a weeb.
Which is funny because
One of them may or may not be weeb stuff in the long run.
I, I don't think I'm a weeb, but I don't think any Western animated films would be on my top list. Classically animated, Toy Story is probably the highest one.
So top my um I have three. So in my like actual top list, I think I've got there's three animated films that are there.
Hmm.
One is the Rurouni Kenshin OVAs,
Yep.
Beauty and the Beast, Anastasia, and Last Unicorn.
Oh, okay.
Like
That
as I said, like
that's actually like far more diverse than people would give it credit for.
yeah.
Uh,
So like he's got a soft spot. Like Secrets of Nim is absolutely amazing. Uh, Land Before Time, absolutely amazing movie. They literally cut out the middle of it. It has less of a middle than The Lion King does. Um, All Dogs Go to Heaven, I would have to watch again. I think that's one of the ones that's really solid. Rockadoodle is it's all right.
Mhm.
Thumbelina has its moments. Like I enjoy the film. It is not Disney. It doesn't hold up in the same way, even though we do have, Ariel as the lead in that one as well. There's a lot of hit and miss, and I think, again, it just comes down to he wanted to stick it to Disney so badly that he didn't actually know what he wanted to do. And he kept releasing them, against all of the Disney films. So he got slaughtered.
Out of all the films that we probably watched here, this one is probably the one with the most missed opportunities.
Mhm.
And maybe if we do like another summer of sequels or like a callback thing, um, doing Fieval Goes West, because I know like it is just a better movie.
Yeah.
And I look forward to that because honestly, the bar is very low. I mean, one could say that the Great Mouse of Minsk only has a 1,848 foot tail.
So I have to ask, did you go and see what a mile was to come up with that number? Because I have no reference. He is bobbing his head like he is one of those water drinking bird toys.
And for our non burger unit of measurement family, that would be 563 meters.
Yeah, that checks out. And I didn't hate the movie.
I might
Like
actively dislike the movie.
I feel like I understand why I didn't enjoy it as much as a kid.
Oh, for sure.
which is like because I always remembered liking Fieval go over An American Tail, and never. I mean, it's been a long time. Not as long as it's probably been for Drew, because he's the older of us. That's right, calling you out.
Just because in podcast release time, my birthday happened relatively recently.
He's been telling me to get off my lawn for years.
Get
Or
off
get
my
off his
lawn!
lawn for years. Yeah. Okay. So I understand why I didn't like it as much as a kid. As an adult, going back and watching it now, I'm able to put words to it. I don't know if I can quite go to actively disliking it. Again, just because there's a lot that was there was good things there, just not all of it.
I'm actively empathizing with how you must have felt with Little Hours.
Yeah, probably. Okay, fair enough.
Like, who needs a kitty bracelet
Yeah.
when you have a kitty named Tiger?
Yeah, that is very fair.
But
Yeah.
I can see the positivity. Like, when was this? Okay, so yeah, where this film is positioned on the releases,
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense in quality
Hmm.
of the storytelling. Like, one could say, so the secret of Nim, I don't actually think was all that successful, but was artistic, and I had positive feelings towards it. Right?
Yes.
There was many good things with Nim. The things I didn't like was just Bluthisms. Like, there has to be a magic thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, my biggest problem with Nim was that.
Yeah.
But American Tail is like that middle of the road between that Disney, like something successful, trying to be, and what they wanted to do, which I assume was Nim.
Mm.
But then you start seeing that development, and this is where they cross the Rubicon, right? Into A Land Before Time, All Dogs. Then they kind of have the bad times.
Yep.
I mean, they came out with Titan AE, which is something I'm very, very much a fan of.
Yeah.
So this kind of like progression in story, if we were to paint a picture of the timeline of these films, it makes sense.
Yeah.
If we were to do Bluth films in order based on what the list is here, I'm probably not gonna hurt until we hit Rockadoodle.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably very. And I think that's part of it too. It's like you can kind of look at it as how it was for its time, and both within the studio and with kind of other animated films around that time. Because I remember having very similar feelings to The Rescuers. Rescuers Down Under again. They picked it up a bit more, and I quite enjoyed that one.
They feel like test pilots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. So I think that's why I can't actively hate it. It is probably not a movie that I'm going to go and rewatch.
No, I don't think I'll ever watch this again.
Yeah. And if I ever have kids or introducing like niece and nephew to things, they will definitely see Fieval Goes West. Probably won't even bother with this one.
Yeah, I would skip it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say